So hey there guys, Erin here again, another What I Eat in a Day Wednesday. Today is starting out a little different. Normally I would have my whole coffee montage before these videos start, but I haven't drank coffee yet today. In fact, I'm just completely fasting this morning. That wasn't a real choice. That's just kind of how my morning ended up working out, where I started working and I didn't get a chance to make coffee, and then it just got so late in the day that I figured I would just make a coffee after lunch if I feel like I need caffeine in some way. So we'll see if I make coffee and if I need it, but otherwise I'm just gonna go straight into lunch. It's 11 o'clock now, and so I'm kind of within a respectable window to take a break and make some lunch. I am going to be making some wasabi deviled eggs. I'll probably be doing a salad with it. That'll be kind of my lunch for today. One question that I get kind of often is, since I'm no longer putting fat in my coffee, or when I do have coffee in the morning, since I'm no longer eating fat, did I reduce my calories? And the answer is no. I've just added more fats or oils. Just a couple extra tablespoons to my lunch gets me the fat that I would have had in my coffee, and so that allows me to go until about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night before I have dinner. So from this lunch to dinner, I'll probably be going about 6 hours without eating anything, and so by putting enough fat, that'll give me enough energy to not feel hungry. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and make lunch now. I'm gonna be making some wasabi deviled eggs. I've already boiled the eggs. I do a big boil of eggs every weekend. I either do that or I boil chicken, and then I can use that throughout my meals during the week, so that way I have just quick, easy, already prepared protein that I can just throw into things. So for me, when I boil or hard boil my eggs, I've tried my Instant Pot. I used to do the cold water method for boiling eggs, and that's where you put your eggs into cold water and then bring it to a boil and then let it sit for 14 to 16 minutes depending on the size of eggs, and then you would supposedly get the perfect egg. I've gone back to the tried and true, just original way to hard-boiled eggs, which is to put them directly into boiling water for about 11 minutes, bring it down to a simmer, cover it, and then put it directly into an ice bath in order to kind of stop the cooking process. And I find that doing it the egg straight into boiling water method, it makes it so my eggs are easier to peel, and that is kind of the thing I've been dealing with. I've been getting well cooked eggs or fully cooked eggs either through using the Instant Pot or doing the cold water method. They would be cooked all the way, but they would be hard to peel. And so I did some more research about this and found out that when you are putting the eggs in water that is either room temperature or colder, the whites of the eggs cook slowly, and when they cook slowly, they adhere to the shell, which is why you get a bad peel on your eggs. So when you drop it directly into boiling water, the whites of the eggs immediately cook, and when they immediately cook, they have a different kind of chemical reaction to the shell, and so that's how you get that perfect peel. So that's now my way for hard boiling eggs, and that's the way I would recommend. So like I said, I threw a dozen eggs. They were within about 10 days of their sell-by date, so that's when I usually like to hard boil my eggs, is when they're within about 7 to 10 days of their sell-by date. So I threw that into a big pot of boiling water, made sure there was about that much, an inch of water totally covering the eggs, so that way they were all completely submerged. Brought the heat down from a boil to a simmer, and then put the lid on the pot and let them sit in that simmering water for about 11 minutes. Then immediately took them out, put them in an ice bath, let them sit in the ice bath for about 10 minutes, and then I peel them underwater, because when you peel them under cold water, it also helps to remove the shell better, so that way you don't get any of that sticking. It creates kind of separation between the shell and the egg itself. So that is my method. That's my cooking tip, I guess, for this video. I need to eat lunch. I need to get on with my break, and I need the time to cook my lunch. So I'm just gonna throw you guys down on my plate, and you guys are gonna see kind of what it is I throw on my plate for lunch today. So these are what my eggs look like when they are done being hard boiled. As you can see, there are no shell marks from taking or deshelling it, and the eggs are cooked perfectly on the inside. So what I've got going on in the bowl is about 1 teaspoon of water, and then I just put in a teaspoon of that real wasabi, and then mixed in a tablespoon of this avocado oil based mayonnaise. I like avocado oil because it is better for you versus things like soybean oil or canola oil, and I buy that avocado oil-based mayonnaise at Costco, but I think you can get it on places like Thrive Market or at most traditional grocery stores as well. So then I just mixed in the egg yolks in order to make it a deviled egg, and that's what the paste looks like. And then I just put the yolks back in the egg, and it's about a tablespoon of the yolk mixture across all of the eggs. So these are pasture-raised eggs, which are higher in fat, so that is going to give me more energy. And I did top it off with some Himalayan salt. And then I just paired it with this Mediterranean-based salad. It does come with things like a dressing and croutons. I just throw that away and add my own toppings to it. So I'm going to be adding about a tablespoon and a half of pine nuts, and then about a tablespoon of pumpkin seeds. This is just going to add more fat and more protein to this meal, so that way it helps to keep me sustained for longer. I'm also adding in about 2 tablespoons of this Caesar dressing. It's again an avocado oil-based dressing, which is something that I like. So this is just a simple lunch that is going to give me enough fat, enough protein, enough carbs in order to help me get through the remainder of my day until I can have dinner.
Eventually.
So my workday is now over, and it's now time for me to go ahead and make some dinner. I'm going to be making some spaghetti and meatballs, but I'm going to be using Miracle noodles, and I'm going to be showing you my hack for kind of adding extra flavor and kind of just adding more to Miracle noodles and how I go about cooking them. Miracle noodles are a kind of a mushroom-based alternative to noodles. They are low carb, well, 0 carb basically, and they basically have nothing to them. That's why they're called Miracle noodles. You can find them online, I think places like iHerb, Amazon.com, Thrive Market sell them. So if you are unable to find them in your regular grocery store, you can always check different places online, because they are kind of considered a nutritional food alternative or a healthy food alternative to noodles. So I'm gonna go ahead and make dinner and show you guys what it is I end up making. So I like using this Adia marinara sauce. It does have a few carbs, but my trick for doing this when making pasta is just to use the full serving and then split it across my husband, and then add extra oil to it in order to make the sauce like thinner and more fattier. So I am using Miracle noodles. Like I said, they are based from a shiitake mushroom, and so that is kind of how they are low carb. Like I said, gonna use lots of olive oil in this, and then I'm using ground pork instead of beef, and I'm just gonna be browning this instead of making meatballs. I just kind of got lazy when I decided to cook this. I'm also using goat's cheese in my spaghetti sauce. This is a cream-based goat cheese. If you didn't want to use that, you could use cream cheese as a replacement. You could also use Parmesan cheese in replacement of this lamb cheese that I'm using, but my husband does not consume cow's dairy, and so we are free of that in this house. I'm using 4 portobello mushrooms, a very small onion, and then some spinach in order to add more nutritional value to this. And then in that bowl, I just had some olive oil, salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder in order to kind of do something with the noodles when I'm done. So I went ahead and just kind of prepped everything. I chopped up my mushrooms, I chopped up my onions. Ends up being like less than an ounce of onion between my husband and myself. So with the Miracle noodles, you want to wash them and drain them because they come in this liquid, which is kind of stinky. So you really want to give them a good scrub before using them. And then I also use kitchen scissors to cut my noodles into smaller pieces, so that way it's just easier to eat. You put the noodles into boiling water for about 2 minutes, and then I put them from the boiling water into that oil mixture and let it sit while I'm cooking everything else. The noodles will actually absorb a lot of that oil, so they become kind of like this awesome low carb, high fat super noodle on keto. So I'm gonna go ahead and brown my pork. So I just did a tablespoon of olive oil to kind of add extra fat to my pork. This was slightly leaner, so I had a pound of meat there, but I'm only browning up about half a pound. So my husband and I will have 1/4 of a pound of ground beef each. We're just kind of splitting up our meat in order to make our meals last longer throughout the week. I added in another tablespoon of olive oil in order to saute up the onions. And then I actually ended up adding in pine nuts, which I didn't show earlier. I did about 3 tablespoons of pine nuts. This just, again, adds more protein to the meal as well as more fat. So I just kind of let those pine nuts toast, and then I went ahead and added in the chopped up mushrooms so that they could fully brown before kind of adding in everything else in. So once they were browned up, this is kind of what the mixture looks like. I went ahead and added in the spinach. So this is about 3 cups of spinach. So I just chucked that all in there and then allowed that to wilt down. And then I went ahead and added in the goat's cheese in order to get that melted and kind of across everything. And then I added in my marinara sauce. So again, this is just 1 serving of the marinara sauce, but I'm using this for my husband and myself. That's the way I kind of cut down on things that can be kind of higher in carbs on keto. So I've added in a ton of oil. There's oil in the noodles, and then I took the excess oil from that bowl, and then I just spread out the marinara sauce. So we're getting that flavor, but we're getting it with like a lot of fat. So that way, you know, we're not getting with the carbs, and that way we're able to stay sustained for longer. So that's kind of my cheat for cutting down on things that are slightly higher in carbs. So yeah, this is a good meal, and you know, within my carbs for the day, I think my total net carbs for this day was about 17 net carbs. I think I got about 270 grams of protein throughout the day, and then about 110 grams of fat. So yeah, overall a great day of eating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this full day of eating keto and that it gave you some good recipe ideas, and it's just, you know, kind of helpful to see how somebody else is eating on the whole ketogenic diet. So if you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.